I love living here in Johnsonville for lots of reasons. I love the woods around here, Lake Mincy, Bear Swamp, Column-Sill Megalith Park, and my own backyard. I love being so close to the Poconos and the Lehigh Valley, and not too far from New York and Philadelphia. I love the schools my children attend. I love so many of the people that I've met here. But there's one thing I really, really don't like about living here. Power outages. I hate power outages, and they do happen around here. Sometimes for hours, sometimes for days, and I learned that early. Some of you may recall that my family moved here in 2012, just days after Hurricane Sandy went through. Heather and I moved our things into a house with no electricity, no running water, and no heat for 5 days. We spent every night that week at my parents' house, which at that time was over an hour away. And we drove here each day to unpack and set things up as best we could until sunset, when we went back. It was a stressful way to start my time here. And I think that's when my trouble with power outages started. I think that's when I started overreacting. Ever since then, whenever the power goes out, I become an emotional mess. I immediately get incredibly anxious. I'm just not able to think clearly. I'm not able to relax. It feels like there's a metal band wrapped around my head, squeezing and constricting, so I can't access parts of my brain. Whenever the power goes out, I feel scared. I feel stuck. I always fear that this is the power outage we won't come back from. This is the one they'll never turn it back on after, even though they always have. And this feeling is constant throughout the outage. No matter what I try to do, no matter what I try to tell myself, it's never enough. I spend so much time during outages staring at MedEd's power outage map on my phone, trying to figure out when they'll arrive to restore my power. Now, some might suggest, why don't you get a generator? Oh, we did. We have a generator, but whenever I've tried to start it, it doesn't work. We've had it serviced at least 3 times, and whenever we get it back from the service, it works fine. But when the power goes out next time, nothing. And let me tell you, the one thing worse than having no generator is having that generator. Knowing it's there and not being able to trust it just makes the anxiety worse. So last Monday, yet another destructive thunderstorm came through our area. But we were spared here in Johnsonville. The power flickered a few times, but it never went out, and I was so grateful, so very grateful. I thanked God for this mercy. But then Tuesday evening, it was a beautiful evening, clear and mild, perfect night to sit outside. And around 8 o'clock, I heard a loud bang. And then I saw that a pickup truck had veered off the road just across the street from the upper parking lot. This truck was sitting in the woods, and a utility pole was sitting in the road in 2 pieces. And guess what that meant? The power was out. Now, I am confident that if it weren't for Monday night's storm, MedEd would have taken care of this very quickly. But the line workers were already so busy restoring power to so many others who were affected by the storm. So while the fire company and the police responded quickly, by the time I went to bed, there was still no MedEd and still no power. So I woke up Wednesday morning, and when I saw that we still had no power, I felt that familiar constricting in my head. I felt my chest tighten. So I decided it was time to try the generator. It didn't start. Again. Just like last time, just like every time. And here I was, even more miserable than before. So I tried to calm down. I thought about the day ahead of me. Most of the things on my schedule were not at the church, so I could still get everything done with the power out. That was good. But there was one other thing I needed to do that day, which was work on this sermon. I needed to get some serious work done on the sermon that day, and I didn't think it would be possible. I need to be in a particular frame of mind to work on a sermon, and I just simply couldn't get in that frame of mind. I was terrified, so I decided to spend the day journaling about how I felt. A lot of what I've already told you in this sermon comes from that journaling. I journaled about that constricting feeling. I journaled about how I cared about nothing but getting the power back. And I journaled about what this says about my faith in God. I had so much trouble trusting God to get me through this. I wanted so much to say, let go and let God. I wanted so much to say, this too shall pass. I wanted so much to say, it is what it is. I wanted so much to count my blessings. But I just couldn't. No matter how I tried, I just couldn't. And I felt like a failure as a Christian, like a hypocrite as a pastor, because I just couldn't practice what I preach. And I bring all this up for two reasons. One, because I wonder if we all have something that triggers us like this. Now, it may not be power outages for you, but it may be something else. Something that just causes you to shut down and not be able to find any joy or peace, and something that may cause you some guilt that you're not able to deal with it better. Something you know you should be able to deal with better, but just can't. I tell you about this to tell you that if you feel that way sometimes, that's normal and it's okay. And two, I bring this up because I wonder if it's something like what we see in today's gospel reading. The disciples were so scared from this storm. Now, they had already been through a terrifying storm on the sea with Jesus, but this time they're alone, fighting the wind and rain all night long, until finally around dawn, Jesus came to them, walking on the water. And they were scared. They were so scared they didn't even recognize Jesus when he was right there. They thought he was a ghost. Their fear swamped them, and they couldn't see Jesus for who he is. Oh, and Peter, he tried so hard to be brave. He tried to walk on the water himself, but he just couldn't do it. He failed and began to sink. So what happened? Jesus reached out and saved Peter. And what happened to the disciples? Jesus got in the boat with them, calmed the storm, and saved them. Even though they were terrified, even though they didn't recognize him, he was still there with them and saved them. And that, I believe, is what Jesus does with me and with you. Sometimes we are really good at trusting him, and sometimes we're not. And there are some situations that no matter what we do, we just can't seem to find that trust. For me, that's a power outage. But Jesus still shows up anyway. Jesus still saves us anyway. Jesus still comes on board with us anyway. So I made it through that power outage. The power did come back on Wednesday afternoon. And even if it hadn't, even if we were now in the 6th day of an outage, even then, even though I know I'd be a basket case at this point, Jesus would still be with me, right here, anyway. Jesus would be holding me and praying for me and waiting for me to be able to see him again. And he'll be there next time. Because I think the power's going to go out again. And maybe next time is the time I can finally trust God and be calm and get over my trauma or whatever it is. Maybe next time. Or maybe not. But no matter what, Jesus will be with me, just like he'll be with you every single time. And he will gently, so gently say to us, "You have little faith. Why did you doubt?" In those times, forgive yourself for your doubt. And just hold on. Just hold on, because Jesus is coming to take your hand. He is coming to be with you in our boat. Amen.